So you bought a Starlink and you still have some questions. We've seen a lot of confusion online and we get a lot of questions as well. We're going to go over which subscription you should choose and how to save the most money, data and power management, where to mount it and how to mount it, and of course we're going to go over how we use the Starlink. We have a basic Starlink video, so if you don't even have one yet, that would be a good place to start. You have found Explore, Trek, Adventure with Kelly and Greg. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure van.
We did find this pretty nice spot down at the end of this road. It's got like 7 fire pits, which a ranger came down here just a second ago and he says that he saw a black bear down here about a week ago. So he said to watch out for that. But he also said the kids like to come up here and party. So hopefully no visitors tonight. Let's start with one of the most confusing ones, and that's subscriptions. And the first thing you need to know about subscriptions is every single Starlink has its own turnover date, or own rollover date or renewal date. Ours is on the 4th. So every 4th is when our plan ends and starts. The big important thing you need to remember with your rollover date is it ends UTC time, and that is not your time. It's not Pacific time, it's not Mountain time, it's UTC. So on the 4th, when this burned us the very first month, because we thought we had data up until midnight. No, it's in mid-afternoon, all of a sudden it turns off because, well, UTC time. Now in our last QA video, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But I mentioned that you should always be paused, and that's kind of like the motto for weekenders. This totally doesn't apply to people who have the unlimited plan. But if you're a weekender or you only use it infrequently to save you money, you need to always be paused. And what does that mean? As soon as you sign up for service, you're gonna then immediately pause it. So I have my Starlink app open. If I click on subscriptions, also one thing is they like to move stuff around like weekly. So if you can't find anything, just click around until you find it and see where they moved it to. It seems kind of counterintuitive that they would move stuff around so much, but they do. So right here, you can see that my service plan is still active. So what I'm gonna do is click on here, and at the very bottom, you can see it says pause service. I think this is the single biggest thing that really hang people up, because it's not pausing your active service that you have now. So we're gonna turn this on, but it's not gonna turn off my service for this month. It's only gonna just basically not renew me next month. So let's do that now. I click pause service. It says, do you have a plan? Do you plan on resuming within 1 year? Yeah, I do. And that says pause service. Okay, so now my service is technically paused, but it's not. And if you look at the top, it says the service plan is paused. Service will continue through August 4th, which is my end date. Your date will be completely different.
What you need to know is that Starlink plans are prorated. So that's why you want to pause. For example, say your plan started on the 1st, but you're not going to be using the Starlink until the 15th. Don't start your plan until the 15th, because you can get those 50 gigs for half the price. To give you an example of how this month has gone for us, we've used up our 10 gigs. We're already 10 days into it, so we need to up our amount. So we're going to go into change service plan. And as you can see, it actually shows the full amount, but it's not actually going to be the full amount. If you go to the 50 gigs, it's $50. But when it actually shows the price, it's $27. Plus the $10 we just previously paid for, that's $37 for 50 gigs for the month. Now let's just say that we want to upgrade to the unlimited for the rest of the month, because we're going to use a bunch of data. Go to the change service plan again. We'll scroll down to the unlimited, and it's going to show us that it's going to be $104 for the rest of our time period. So including the $10 from our 10 gigs, that's $114 for the whole service plan for the month. It's not that complicated. Just remember to always pause, and when you need the service, that's when you turn it on. Save yourself some money.
Now let's talk about dish orientation. As you can see, like, we're parked at the end of this road. I'm not parking the van specifically a location because I want the dish to be pointed in a certain direction. I'm basically parking the van so it's in a flat spot and pointed to where we want it to be. When I open the app, you can see that it wants to be in a slightly different orientation than it is now, but what you just need to know is it still works fine. It's not optimal, and if you need to do crazy uploads, that's probably the time where you want to actually make sure it's pointed in that right direction. But for 95% of the stuff we do, it doesn't matter at all. And especially doesn't matter when you're driving. I get great service when we're driving. The only time it really cuts out is when we have trees that are overhanging. It'll block out for a little bit, but other than that, it's actually been pretty great. Let's talk about power consumption. Well, I did cover that in our first video, but what I want to show you here is if you click on statistics inside of the Starlink app, it shows you a ton of data. But the big one, if you scroll down here, is power draw. And if you click on that, you'll see the actual power draw and the average power draw of your Starlink. For us, we have the Starlink Mini. It's pretty much always 20 watts. I've seen it 21 once in a while. Now, once you know the average consumption of the dish that you have, keep in mind, if you have a bigger dish, those are going to consume more power. For us, our 20 watts, we can go on an online calculator and say I have an AC50B that has 448 watt hours of power. You know, how long can that run a 20 watt load? And those calculators will tell you, oh, it can run for 8-10 hours. And the same thing will go for something like a Jackery. We have ours plugged directly into the van, and we're using the DC plug, and we have this convenient little box here that I installed. It's kind of hard to see, but there's buttons on here. You can hear them click, so I can turn off and on the dish by clicking on that button, and that way we don't leave ours on all the time. It just uses excess power that we want to keep. It's really a very different concept than your home internet where it's just always on. We want to keep this turned off as much as possible. One, you're going to save power, but two, data. Data is like the big one. And let me give you an example of why you want to turn it off. One of our camping trips, we took a VR headset with us. It actually is a pretty good toy to have in the van because it doesn't take any space and you can have a giant screen and whatever. But we were playing some games and we needed to update a game. So we connected the VR headset to the Starlink, downloaded our game, totally fine, worked fine. When I opened up the Starlink app the next day, I was looking down and we had only used like half a gig of data the previous day. When I looked down at the app, it said we were almost to 4 gigs. And I'm just like, oh my God, what is going on? And I looked at the connection list and you can see that in the app, what's connected. And I'm like, what is this thing? This doesn't make any sense because I can see your phone and I can see my phone connected, but there's a third thing connected. Well, it turns out some apps or some devices, even though they're basically turned off, they're kind of in a standby mode. Well, that's what this thing did, our VR headset. Well, it decided to do an OS upgrade in the middle of the night and use 3.5 gigs worth of data that we weren't planning on doing. So this can go for iPads, basically any device you connect. If it decides to do an update, you know, it's going to use a ton of data. So if you're connecting stuff for other people or a temporary thing, just make sure you're really going back inside that app and forgetting that Wi-Fi network, or you can actually kick them off on the Starlink side as well. Another tip you need to know for conserving data, and this applies to an iPhone, I'm sure there's the equivalent setting on Android or on the PC. But if you look in here, this is our network settings. And if you click on the low, you can see right away, I'm already in low data mode. So you want to make sure you're enabling that. And how you do that, you click the little eye and you can see there's a little slider right here that says low data mode, and just make sure that is turned on. And you can read the little description there. It says it helps reduce data on how much it's going to do. We found another setting. If you pull down in the top right corner on an iPhone, you want to enable this low battery mode. That is a secondary thing that tells your phone basically try to conserve as much battery as you can. And one of the things it's not going to do is do big backups and big updates. All that being said, I have still seen rogue apps go crazy and take up a bunch of data. I periodically like to click on the statistics tab in your Starlink. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, there's the throughput. And you can see that ours is basically flatlined. And that's what you want to see if you're not expecting a bunch of data to be usage. Let's talk about mounts, but before we do that, let's show you how we have ours mounted. Ours is just in this top corner here. If I can get up here without dying, I can show it to you. Here you can see that is our mount. We're using the magnetic mounts. And that's where the dish lives 100% of the time. We technically could pick it up and move it if we were parked under the trees and needed to. I really do like the versatility of the magnetic mounts. They're super easy to use. And also, even it being down underneath with that solar panel right next to it, it's not blocking any of the signal. And you can see this is the cable that comes in, and this goes through the port here, and this is basically an access port. And so this goes right in, and it goes right into that cabinet downstairs. Now that you know how we have ours mounted and protected, let me go show you a couple things that you can think about, or you should think about when choosing a mount. The mount we have is made by Veritas Fans, and yes, they did provide us with a free mount, but I'll tell you what, this would 100% be my pick if I were to spend my own money with it. There's a couple reasons why. So you can see here, this is the back side. This is where the dish gets mounted inside here. So you'll notice that this is like a super hard piece of plastic that sits actually on top of the dish. So the dish is actually shooting through that plastic. Doesn't block the signal from what we can see. It works totally fine, but this protects your dish. If you're in any areas, like we're on back roads all the time. Now I don't have to worry about sticks ramming in through here. Or maybe you're in an area with like super big hail, if that's gonna come banging down and you don't want it destroying your dish. Let me bring you over here and show you how durable this thing is. And maybe don't do this with your own stuff. Here's a big rock. No problems throwing this onto there. There, you can see. It's got a nice gouge out of it. I would be freaking out if that was my dish. So the dish itself is totally protected inside of here. I think that's a big feature that a lot of people don't think about, especially if this thing's gonna be mounted, 365 days a year on your rig. You wanna make sure it's protected. There are a lot of companies now that are making different kinds of mounts. I just suggest looking for something that has a magnetic mount, super versatile, and that provides that extra layer of protection on the top of the dish. A lot of them will have it on the sides, but see if you can find one that has protection for the top. Kelly's gonna be mad that I damaged this one, but it's okay. Hopefully that answered some of the questions you may have, or hopefully it didn't make it any worse. If you do have more questions, let us know in the comments. We can help answer. There's a lot of other smart people out there that can help answer those questions to get you out connected if you need to, out in the wilderness like this. Go check out this video next. You can find us at exploretrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.